Testing, testing, 153. Yesterday, I was walking through the park and I seen a clown. And I'm not afraid of clowns, but I heard clowns could be dangerous. Yes, my name is RONNELL Miller. I reside right now in Wilkinsburg, PA. I lived there probably 5 months. I'm originally from the north side, but I spent most of my time in Pittsburgh on the south side. Well, my present home now, I describe it as just that. It's a home, somewhere where I lay my head down. I'm not real familiar with the area, but yeah, it's just somewhere where I go to lay my head down, you know. Yes, I have family on the south side, all over Pittsburgh.
My name is SHANTI FLOYD, and I currently live in Clairton. For the last 3 or 4 years, actually, yeah. I'm originally from the east side of Pittsburgh, over here where we sitting at right now. I describe my home as a very loving place, nurturing home. You know, a lot of kids around, you know, a lot of toys and things like that. So I describe my home as a loving place. As far as my current community, blue collar, very blue collar place. You know, big steel mill out there. I believe that it's hard working people, you know. Good place, you know, just like everywhere it has, you know what I mean, it's elements, unsavory elements, drugs, you know, crime, things like that. But as a whole, you know what I mean, it's a lot of good people out there, you know, trying to do the right thing.
Oh, okay. My name is DARNELL RAMSEY, and I live in the Blackridge, Wilkinsburg area. I bought the house about 10 years ago, but I just recently moved back there 3 or 4 months ago. My home is incredible. It's very peaceful and relaxing. My neighborhood is, at least the street I live on, is very quiet.
No, I rent, and I actually did own my house when I was 23 years old. I actually did own my house. That was on the south side. And I paid $43,000 for it. So, yes. The reason why, because I have kids, so eventually I'll be able to give my kids a place to live, you know, so that's what I'm trying for, you know.
Well, my girlfriend owns the house. Yes, she owns the house, and I pretty much help her with everything. So, yeah, absolutely, very much so. I think it's the cornerstone of, you know, I think it's your biggest investment. You know, I think the home is probably your biggest and most important investment. So, yes, it's very important to me.
It used to be. I believe in home ownership for certain people, but I think it's definitely depend on the individual. Oh, wow. That's what I wanted to ask you all. Did y'all want the political conversation, or do you want the real conversation? I believe in certain neighborhoods, home ownership is great. To me, I think that America is a capitalist society, so I think that home ownership is part of you to participate in the system. However, in certain neighborhoods, in particular the East, I think a home ownership is a bad investment. I know people that live in the East and they bought a house 10, 15 years ago, and the house is still worth exactly what they bought it for. So when you pay a couple $1,000s for taxes, and you multiply, I mean, in addition to the expenses that incur from home ownership, I think that's a bad investment. You know, when you actually paying more, and then in addition to the interest rates of a home. So when you say things like that, I think it's not a good investment. Now, if you go out in certain communities where I have friends that live in, you know, out in Moon and North Hills in the Wexford area, where they bought their home 10 years ago and they already got almost $100,000 worth of equity in their home. So with that said, depending on the area, I think home ownership is important. However, in certain areas, I think that when it comes to numbers, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I do have concerns about affordable housing. It seems like a lot of places now, or I don't want to say gentrification, but this a lot of places are being just people are moving in to places where they necessarily weren't there before, and they're building up, which is a cool thing. But at the other end, it's like you're pushing people out that been there for 100 years, 60 years, 50 years, 30 years, families, you know. So affordable housing would be key because it can help someone who's trying, like entrepreneurship-wise, or someone who's trying and struggling to be able to like equal out, you know. So if they have not a good paying job, but the rent is affordable, then I kind of like balance it out, you know.
Absolutely. Yes, I do. I think it's important for people to be able to own a home because, like I just previously stated, it's so important in the family of having a home that, you know, affordable housing is important so people can provide that stability, you know, for their family and whatnot. So, yes, I believe that home ownership is definitely very important.
Of course, and I'm still trying to get a grasp of what affordable housing mean. To me, affordable housing may mean different than the people who came up with that catchphrase. When I look at Pittsburgh and the transition over the last few years and the salaries that some of the average working people in Pittsburgh make, what's affordable to them. So again, when you want to buy into neighborhoods where you are going to build equity in your home, are those houses affordable for somebody who don't make the salaries that people in the working class make in Pittsburgh? So it's not affordable.
I don't know. Maybe to have places where people can like help out for as like the maintenance or any other activity that they can help out with that the owner of the house can provide them to help them help themselves. So maybe something like that.
I think people are taking steps in those directions now. Some of the things that I see going on, some of the plans that we even have, you know, things of that nature. I think more attention should be paid to it. I understand that, you know, we have a lot of outside money coming into the city now and, you know, they're building up, you know what I mean? But, you know, I think that we can never forget about the small guy, you know, the guy that's on the come up trying to get there, you know. So I think that they could do more than what's being done. I do. I think they could put more emphasis on it, you know, more or less. You know what I mean? That's what I think. We understand that we have Google and Uber and all, like I said, big, you know, conglomerates in town now, and, you know, they're buying up a lot of the, you know, property that's available, but they're not necessarily making the condos and this and that and the third for the little guy. You know what I mean? So I think there could be more emphasis placed on getting, you know, affordable housing and nice housing, you know what I mean, for the community. You know, that's all I really think it is a lack of emphasis being put on it. I think people are more putting their eggs in one basket, you know what I mean? I think that inclusivity is always a plus, you know, in housing also, and just as well as, you know, society as a whole.
I think these conversations are great and sparking the conversations, but just to be very candid, I've seen the transition to Pittsburgh take place since the 90s. So I've seen the Manchester project and the things that happened in the Manchester area or the North Shore, so-called. Then I'm looking at the Hill District development, and I'm looking at the East Liberty development. So there's been a lot of great conversation. But I haven't necessarily seen the benefit of, again, I'm talking about the working class people who are able to partake in this new transition for Pittsburgh. I think that what you all are doing, you know, just bringing the working class people to the table, and I think that the education starts prior to the transition. You know, a lot of times if you're coming on board when the transition started 10 years ago, you're getting the information late. I think that there are certain people who can take advantage of these opportunities. However, they find out later than the time frame, so they're not able to put a plan in place. I'm seeing a lot of, I do buy real estate and have bought real estate in Pittsburgh, and I'm seeing a lot of investors in the area who's taking advantage of these opportunities that some of the, I guess, local residents, if they're educated in a proper time frame, will be able to at least benefit or be at the table when these transitions are starting to take place. So I know you are, I think, CMU in the projects, you are doing at least making an effort to get the community to come to the table, because it's hard to partake in these things that's going on in Pittsburgh if you're not at the table and you're unaware of it, or if you're getting information late and you're actually responding later than some of the other people who are at the table are able to take advantage of it.
Well, there is development happening right now. So I guess it's a possible opportunity for jobs, because they're building, I think it's a dollar store, Dollar General or something. And it's another, like, I guess, apartment buildings. So I guess it's an opportunity for jobs in that right there. So, but Pittsburgh in general, it's a lot being built. It's a lot being built in Pittsburgh in general, so.
Yeah, actually there is. Actually, we're the city of Clareton just received a $3 million grant from Allegheny County, from the county. So, they're putting that money to good use. There's development. Actually, there's two developments going on right down the street from me right now. There's a big Speedway, mini mart little thing, being like a get-go kind of thing, being built up. And then there's a, what they call the name of it, like a industrial park. Yeah, that's what they're calling it. And an industrial park's being developed. It's in the process of being built right now. And as far as my thoughts on development as a whole in the city and in the suburbs, I think it's awesome. You know what I mean? I think it's great. But at the same time, like I touched on, we have to be inclusive with it. You know what I mean? We have to include people that may not necessarily be on the higher scale of the economic system, but they're hard workers, you know what I mean? They're dedicated, and they're people trying to get ahead in life. So, I think it's always best to be inclusive, like I just spoke to before, you know what I mean? That's my only thing, if we're gonna do it, let's invite everybody to the party, and let's not pick and choose who we want. Let's bring everybody so everybody can reach some form of success,
In Wilkinsburg, I haven't seen it in that well. Wilkinsburg, Blackridge, I think most of the development is taking place in the central part of the city.
I don't think so. I don't think so. The reason why, because they're not involved. If they were involved, then they probably would have had a voice. But I don't see people in the community involved in the rebuilding, so I mean, hopefully that'll happen, but I don't see it right now. Yes, because the community is the people, You can have houses and whatever kind of structure, but if no people there, then it's not a community, so.
Sure, absolutely. I think that community engagement is definitely a big deal. You will want the community, and as a developer, as a guy that builds things, it's definitely good that know what you're building and have input from the community on what would be good to be developed, what are they looking for, what are the needs of the community, you know what I mean? Not so much the wants, but what are the needs of the community, what would best service the community in a positive way, you know what I mean, to bring forth some unity, because I think that's what we all need around here, a lot of unity. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Yes, there was. I wasn't I'm a busy man, so I wasn't really personally involved with it, you know what I mean? But the good thing is, my neighbor, Miss Judy across the street, she always goes to all the council meetings, and like I said, the development is close to my house, you know what I mean? So she's always on the front lines with it. I love Miss Judy for that, you know what I mean? Because me and my girl, we both work full time, real busy, both work on this side of town, so we're commuting, so yeah, it's good to have neighbors and people like that are engaged and what's going on in the community, so forth and so on. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's an awesome idea to be engaged.
I think it's very important for people to have a voice, because you at least I think it makes people feel good to talk or to be heard. As for me, I'm more tangible. I've seen too much talking take place, and unfortunately, I haven't seen too many tangible things. So I think it's important to be heard, but better yet, just take it to another level, and actually, some people can benefit from it. Again, you know, I've seen a lot of people that's not from the community really benefiting from the changes in the community, and that's why people are talking about affordable housing. There are new millionaires being made. So again, back to your original question, I don't believe that this home, other people use homes to benefit and move their family forward. And I think real estate is one of the best places, or one of the opportunities where people are able to take advantage of this economic boom. But I've seen more outside investors benefited from it versus community residents, long-term community residents.
Yeah, I'm a Westinghouse graduate, born and raised right over here up on Lincoln Avenue. Times were different then, you know, growing up. I think that there were more community-based organizations and community-based groups that were more fundamentally entrenched in the community. Like I said, with the influx of new money coming in town, outside money, different things of that nature, it's changed the East Side. It changed the whole, you know, community as a whole, and from Homewood to Lincoln Lemington to Larimer, East Liberty, you know, all over the whole East Side. You know, a lot of people has been spread out, displaced due to what we just was speaking to, the lack of low-income housing. So, like I said, I think that the development that's going on right now should definitely be more inclusive. But to bring it back to how things were when I was growing up, like I said, there was a lot more community leadership where we lack now. You know what I mean? But I think it's beginning to get on the upswing of that. You know, more people are beginning to get engaged, and I think that's because of, you know, when you really look at the big picture as a whole, a lot of people feel disenfranchised. A lot of people feel like they're being run off, you know what I mean, being displaced, so on and so forth. So I truly believe that, you know, I think this is the most important side of the city. You know, I think this is the most important side of Pittsburgh. You know, I'm sure people would beg to differ, you know what I mean? You know, but I'm a local product, and I love this part of town. You know, eventually I'll be moving back over here. You know, I still have all my family still here. You know, so it's awesome, but at the same time it's kind of sad. You know, I wouldn't say sad, because you never want to stand in the way of progress. You know what I mean? But like I also stated, that you want the progress to be inclusive, you know, towards though everybody don't have to look the same. You know what I mean? There's people that could look different, like the community as a whole, and also come together to build the community up as a whole. You know, so that's my thoughts on the new modern, you know, east end of the city. It's great, you know what I mean? It's great to have, you know, these big name companies and stuff and whatnot around. You know, I would like for them to be more engaged, you know what I mean, in community, you know. Yeah, so that's what I really believe. Growing up over here, it was awesome. It was awesome. You know, I won city championships down in Westinghouse playing ball, and it was just a great experience. You know, like I say, the community was different. Right now, what's going on specifically in Homewood, it's tragic. You know, the level of violence that we're seeing. If I'm not mistaken, a young man was killed last night down the street there on Kelly. And it's sad, you know what I mean? It is sad because it's happening more and more and more to where as though people are becoming numb to it. You know, I heard one lady say that, you know, she hearing shots so much, you know, she doesn't even really call the police. She just gets on the floor, you know what I mean, and get her kids on the floor, you know. So when you hear stories like that, it definitely pulls on the old heartstrings, you know what I mean? But at the same time, like I said, I think the future is going to be bright, you know what I mean, because more people are waking up, you know what I mean, getting engaged, becoming a part of the solution and not necessarily the problem. You know, people like myself trying to reach back and grab as many people, younger guys, people as we can to pull them into what we're doing here. And it's just awesome, you know what I mean? I think everything's awesome. I'm just trying to stay positive, you know, definitely.
Well, the reason why it would be important because it's job, it gives someone a job, and just to have a different outlook, you know, someone else's interpretation of what they think is cool, for its building wise or whatever. I think it's cool, you know.
Yes, I think architectural and also architectural design is important. Now, don't know much about it, but as a builder, I know that it's important for what we do, that blueprints and, you know, all of those things like that go hand in hand with building, brick masonry, any form of the trades. I'm sure that architectural and design and things like that are definitely important to the community as a whole also. You know, bridges, buildings, everything like that had to be designed, and infrastructure and all of that things like that someone had to design it in order for guys like me to come around and, you know, throw a brick or two on it, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think it's definitely important.
I love architecture, and I think it's very important. I think it makes a city unique. I think when you allow the architects to be creative instead of putting them into a matchbox, I think the city is starting to look the same, you know, versus back in the day you see different neighborhoods with the architectural creativity. You see the difference. Nowadays cities are starting to look like matchboxes. The same developers are coming in. So I think that, yeah, it's very important to keep the uniqueness of cities and the individuality of cities as well.
Yes, I have. One time. Well, it was kind of like, it was a weird kind of feeling, you know, because you know nothing's in front of you, but something's in front of you. So, but it was cool though. It was cool. A kind of new experience.
Yes, thanks to you guys, I have, yes, twice actually. Yeah, the first time I used it, I really I enjoyed it a little more the first time. I think maybe because it was more space, you know, depth perception on it, you know what I mean? And the last time we were down at you guys' place, I did have a chance to use it, but it was different. And I don't know if it was because of the space we didn't have that much room to maneuver, you know, so I guess maybe that's what it was. When we were down in you guys' place, it, you know, it was a big open area, and I was able to walk around and really, it was at the Braddock Park, that's what it was for, that's what it was about, the park. So I think that it was awesome. Like, I felt like I was going to walk off the earth, you know what I mean? Like, I felt like Christopher Columbus, that the world was flat. Like, I felt like I was going to walk off the earth or something, like, but it was awesome though. Yeah, I think it's a great experience. That's another thing. I think all of that technology can be used for so many different things. Like I said, I'm not a big tech guy, more of a meat and potatoes kind of guy, but what I do know about it is helping the world. You know, it's helping the world, and people seem to love it. And so, like I said, I've never been the guy to stand in the way of progress. So, I'm on board with it. But the VR headset, it's amazing. Just the things that you could do with it. It's deep. You know what I mean? It's hard for me to even put it in words. Like just the realm of it and the ramifications and all of the things that it can do. I really enjoyed it. I really did.
I used it a couple months ago when we came to campus, but everybody was pushing and trying to get the opportunity to use it. So I don't remember doing it for a long period of time, but I'm very interested in it. A little awkward because I've never experienced anything like that, and I'm more of a control freak. So I mean, it looked like it was fun. Not like I was giving up control, but it was different, and I never experienced anything like that. But I felt like a little kid, and it was enjoyable, if that makes sense.
Definitely, because it gives, like I said, it gives you a new perspective. Like it's not just the blueprints or somebody you can actually see, like being constructed or already done. So yeah, I think that's big. That'll be cool.
I think once you put it out there, like they say, if you build it, they will come. So I kind of think it's that kind of deal. I know for a fact that the kids, that's right up their alley. Like I said, it's the technology. So I know the kids, they'll be engaged with it. The adults, like I said, some of them are more like me. Some of them are more engaged with the technology and know more about it. But can it be a useful tool for community reciprocation? I definitely do. Community building, outreach. Yeah, because it's something that'll get people there. You know what I mean? Everybody would want to come, check it out. Like, wow, they got the VR down there, and you can see how, this and the third, word of mouth. You know what I mean? And people come and get engaged and want to, put their eyes to the headset and take a glance at, what it looks like. Because, like I said, I know they're on the market, but they're very expensive, so everybody can't afford one. I can't afford one, you know what I mean? So that was the only two times that I was able to use one were when I was down there with you guys. And I think it'll be a great tool for the community. Yeah, I do. You always gotta, you're always gonna have your naysayers and this, that, and the third, but as a whole, yeah, I think it's a good idea because it'll have people engaged. It'll get you fully engaged because it's something physical that you have to put on your body. You know what I mean? You have to put it on. So that right there is going to have you engaged. You know what I mean? Just physically putting something onto your head, covering your eyes. So definitely.
I think it's a catch-22 because ironically, I can recall when I was ninth grade, I took graphic design or mechanical drawing, and it took me back to there where if I was a kid and I had that opportunity, maybe I would have been an architect. I really enjoyed that class. So that was a two-part question. I think that a lot of the residents who, for one, overall, I think the visual is much better because nowadays we live in we're visual learners. Too much rhetoric loses people. However, also it can be gimmicky because a lot of older people who have watched this community change without having no say-so or really without seeing the benefits, I think that can draw some caution from them. But to the point, I think that as a younger person who goes to an inner city school, who haven't had the opportunity to partake in that, now it opens up a whole world of unlimited possibilities through new technology, and that's the wave and where we're going. But if you don't create a platform for kids to be exposed to that, I think that that's a disservice because there's so much untapped talent. So I think that's it's an oxymoron. You have the older generation who might not like it because they've been, they feel like they've been, people have been dishonest in coming into the community. So that's just another graph, some type of gimmick where you see all these numbers and graphs to come and take the community. And then on the flip side, you can expose a younger Darnell Ramsey who will have loved, and maybe that might have excited him or expedited his interest in, getting into a new industry that he wouldn't have been exposed to, or he's not exposed to in the school system that that he's currently attending.
I think something like that would be really big, because you got people, especially from neighborhoods that's not affluent or have a lot of things, their resources, that they can get and see something like this, because they probably never seen nothing like virtual reality in their life. So that'll be big, and it might invigorate them, you know what I'm saying, to learn more or to be a part of something. If you just get out and like educate the people on it, I think by educating them, they'll feel like they know a little more, so they'll want to do a little more. So I think that'd be big, just getting out there and just educating the people. I think something like this would be really big, because if you can educate them, like I said before, they'll feel like they're a part of it and they'll want to do more. And once somebody has education, they can teach. So they can teach someone who doesn't know about, you know what I'm saying? So someone who's not directly coming to that place, who might not have access to the place or heard about it, but they can, I mean, not only with the building, but just a part of the neighborhood. You see something coming up in your neighborhood and something that's big and exciting, it's like you want to be a part of it, you know? Especially like you're a community leader or somebody who's trying to do something or make a change. Yeah, that'll be big. That's like a venue for them to try to do something. So yeah, so it's kind of opening up doors.
It's definitely useful. Now, the thing would be getting the community to understand exactly what's going on, you know, and I think that's where, you know, the collaboration of all of these organizations would play a major role in community outreach and getting them involved and engaged in the process, as we see that, you know, as we know that in order for any of this stuff to happen, you know, we definitely need the community input and, you know, their opinion on it. But can it work? Can it be? I think it's awesome. Is there certain elements and certain things that you have to take into consideration? Yes. For the fact that everyone might not be so tech savvy as to truly get it, you know what I mean, as to truly get what it is they're saying. But with all of this stuff here, that's enough to get people there, you know, and pretty much once you get people there, then you start to lay down the groundwork, the foundation as to what it is exactly we're doing here, you know, and why we're doing this. That's the only question that I have, is why? What I've come to realize, you know, in doing what we do, we're not going to be able to reach everyone, although we would like to. You know, although we would like to reach everybody in the communities, in the city, you know what I mean? You know, and get everybody engaged and get, like you said, get some buy-in and some feel like they have a stake in what's going on. But we're not going to be able to, but long as we get who we get, whoever that is, you know, and if people come in and, you know, whether they are outside, inside, doesn't make a difference. People in the community, because we're all here in this community, you know, people come in and willing to help, you know, and not just help for us financially, I mean, really get their hands dirty, you know, get in there. You can't do nothing but respect it. And, you know, those that don't, oh well, you know, but those that do, you know, and feel as though that they're a part of, you know, included, yeah, it'll be awesome. Only thing that concerns me is the level of equipment, you know, in these areas with these lots. You know, you need security, you know, you do, you know, just being honest, because this stuff, you know, would somebody be able to get in there and maybe like Jimmy, you know, you have to take all things into consideration, you know, the use of, you know, the lots and things of that nature. Just to be mindful of that, you know, having somebody there that's, you know, has a stake in it, that wants to see this thing, that will really keep a close eye and secure the perimeter, so, you know, we don't let the wrong element get a hold or involved, or you know what I mean? You know, because you, like I said before, a lot of times the lot may look empty, and it may be empty when you see it, but there's somebody there. You know what I mean? There's somebody there, and you know, and that was the thing that was scaring me about, you know, putting them in, you know, these little lots and things like that, because you know, worst case scenario, just being honest, they could be in there cooking up dope. You know what I mean? Trust me. You know what I mean? It's all types of the things that you would least expect happen. They happen. You know, the things that you would least expect will happen. They do, and those are all the contingencies and things like that you have to take in consideration. But as a whole, there's nothing more that would engage. You're completely engaged. You're immersed. You're immersed in it. You're in it. You know what I mean? You get to put on the goggles, see how it would go. I think it's awesome. I do. I really do. I truly do. And I think it's a way that the community would be engaged. You know, I do, honestly.
So two things. One, I think I heard this before, but what is considered affordable housing? Is there a range? And I think this is a great idea, but I think the most important thing is once you go through that process, people still want to see something tangible. They see these presentations, but they don't know cousin, you know, Teresa is living in that house. So you do all these things and nobody's living in this house, then not. I mean, what's it good for? I mean, what was the whole presentation? What was the purpose of the presentation? And I think this is good because we're moving. It's a visual world and it's a technology world, so people got to come up to date, including myself, with these. However, if you really want to get buy-in, they want to know that somebody actually bought that house. So I don't know how you would sell that to them. Like, who's going to be the first person to buy or get an opportunity to buy this house? What does that? What's the profile of that? So if somebody's watching this presentation, they're like, oh, I can get one of those. But if you're not, you know, I'm a numbers person, so maybe that. I'm selling a little bit of myself. I'm just into numbers. People still got to have hope that I can buy one of those. So we go through all this nice presentation, but if the house is $200,000 and I make $35,000, that's not for me. So I'm turned off from it. But if you make it affordable, then somebody can say, you know what, you know, then the community start talking about it, and they have hope that they can live in this house. So I don't know how you infuse that, if that's even a consideration, but this is always good. But you know, coming from this community, you've been sold on developers and all this new stuff, but people, you know, for example, when I was in graduate school in the 90s, late 90s, the Hope 6 project was coming through, and I was on these community organizing boards, and Hope 6 people came in and they were affordable housing, and they were telling these people yada 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 yada. But then I think they went from something like 2,000 units down to 400 units. And I used to ask the question is, where's the other 1,600 people going? But they would come with these beautiful presentations and, you know, models and all that. But people, you know, you displace, you know, 60% of the population. So that happened, and the North Side happened. So now it's continuing to happen. So you might have somebody like, I've been here for 20 years. I've been seeing this, and I don't know anyone who took advantage. Well, not too many people have taken advantage of this. So that's something to consider when you're presenting that, like a profile. Whoever's in that presentation can say, even if they don't, they can say, I have a chance. People know that, you know, Google is charging $1,400, $1,500 for an apartment, so they're thinking home was next. You know, they're not. You know, that's when people are turned off when you play on their intelligence, that you don't think they're intelligent. So you come with these wonderful presentations and they're not benefiting from it. My bias, I might be a little bit biased because I'm a numbers person. You know what I mean? Numbers is bottom line. So when, you know, that's why I keep coming back to, if you could show, even if you have 3 different profiles, you know, this style of house, I don't know where this is going. This style of house, this is 40% of the, you know, I guess you're talking about the median income, 60%. So you're giving people diversity, because there might be some people who live in Penn Hills who can afford that, who wants to move. They're from Homewood, but they left and went out Penn Hills. Now they want to move back. So that's where I come for the different patient profiles. But when you talk about architectural designs, I think that you take how a home would look and add some type of something. Get with a community person that talked about where Homewood was in the 50s and 60s, so they can have that cultural relevance. Because nowadays, again, communities look like matchboxes. Look at East Liberty and look at the Hill District. It's the same. They look the same. They have, I guess it's the same developer. You know, and you got Garfield. It's the same developer. Again, there is the older people are pretty much they're dying out. But then you have I think you have a population from I would say like 25 to 45 who might still be in the home buying market to buy a house. But to your point, they've been around the city. They see East Liberty, they see all these neighborhoods are the same. So how do you sell them on caring about our culture when the whole city looks like a culture? And then somebody like me who travels, it seems like it's the same developer in every city. So now this is just another person coming with a great presentation, and at the end, I won't be able to afford this home, and you just got me to sign a signature the same way you did with the other communities, and you left me. So I might even come out and support, and I might not have a positive when I'm talking to the rest of my family or community residents. I might not speak very positively. So that is again, that's why I said, can you make it tangible to the targeted market by creating profiles? That way you can start to, even if you don't do it, you can start to believe instead of coming here and saying, oh, this is just another presentation. Because they're the ones who are going to go out, not to me, first of all, not to me, you're not going to have the whole community show up anyway, but the people who do show up, you want to say, I went to a great presentation, and if somebody's in the working class, they have working class friends, so this is affordable. If you're not working, it's irrelevant, you ain't going to show up anyway. But if you can say that this is, in addition to the imagery, but add some numbers to it, where they can go out and say, you know what, home is coming back, and we can come back. This is where my grandmother lived, and this is where I want to be, because I work downtown, busway, but it has to be believable.
Trade Institute of Pittsburgh was key for me because I just came home from prison in November 1st, and I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to come home and do the same thing I was doing and end up in jail or dead or somewhere I didn't want to be. So the Trade Institute was key because I was actually in there before and went back to jail, and he told me to come back, and I came back. And I was, I didn't want to go to jail, but it was probably not a good thing, but it helped me refocus myself on what I was trying to do, So, but the Trade Institute, they helped me out a lot, I was, like I said, just coming home. He gave me resources. Mr. Steve Sheldon gave me resources. He gave me housing. So it was very big for me, Well, my experience as far as with the CMU, the students and things, my experience was just to get with somebody who's like, so to speak, on a different side of the playing field, someone who's not like me or where I'm from or look like me. So that was an experience in itself. Even though I've had experience like that, I can tell that Garrett and a couple others never been around the type of people that me and, people that I know. And so that was cool because I kind of enlightened him and opened him up a little bit because he had questions that he didn't, really understand, like far as where I'm from and just the mentality. So, but I had to let him know, like, everybody's not dangerous or it can be, but everybody's, you know what I'm saying, we're just like you. And one thing I found out, everybody at least has 80% in common. When you think that you don't have nothing in common with a person because he doesn't look like you, we at least have 80% in common, sometimes more. So that was good to get that commonness, you know what I'm saying, so I can show him, like, yeah, man, we're not too much different. So for me, that was a good experience, being able to kind of teach and be taught, you know, so.